to Just Ranked. Welcome back. This is the show where we take a weekly topic, and we rank our top 4, and we have an honorable mention. Some of us have one, some have more. Check out justrankedpod.com. It's a landing page where you can go to all our links for all of our socials. Click, like, and subscribe. Hit the bell like AC/DC to get the notifications when a new show pops. Today,
we're the worst co-hosts ever.
It's funny though.
No support.
People expect it now. No, you're doing great, Jimmy. It's good.
Keep it going.
All right. So today we disarm. We go from 0 to 1979. It's going to be sweet, sweet, and perfect. We're going to go where boys fear to tread. And we are talking about the Smashing Pumpkins. My name is not Mellon Collie, and these are not the Infinite Sadness here. I am Jimmy. That's Dink. That's Chris. This is Joe. And looks like, Dink, you're going to start the show.
All right. That was some sweet intro with the name dropping there, or the song dropping. I liked it. All right. I am going to take a page out of Joe's book. And
it's all Prince?
It is not all Prince, but let me just say, bring on the Siamese Dream.
Oh, there you go.
I'm sorry if that hurts anyone's feelings, and it's not like I don't know their full catalog, but you're going to get a bunch of Siamese here. Anyway, number 4 is Soma, the power ballad, which was originally, I believe, called Coma, and they changed the title. I love this song. I love this album. I really like Billy's voice. I know that Chris had mentioned it during the Cinderella voice, or he didn't like Kiefer's, and that Billy's is kind of the same. Rain Maid is the same from Our Lady Peace. There's a lot of singers. If you don't like their voice, you probably don't like anything by them, right? Or they're a tough listen. For me, I love the Pumpkins, or I really loved the Pumpkins. I don't think that they progressed well.
Nope.
I think that, and then, it's cliche, but after they came out with Mellon Collie, it's much like, I hate to bring up Guns N' Roses, but other bands that release 2 albums or a double album at the same time. Like, oh, Jesus, it's awesome. There's a lot of songs, but then you just shit the bed after. You should have broke that up and released it over the course of 4 or 5 years, a couple of albums, right? Independently rather than together. Just my feelings alone. I really liked Mellon Collie, Infinite Sadness, but I thought it was a lot all at once. And then I was disappointed for many years afterwards with their material. So That said, back to the song. Soma is the song. I find it kind of sort of haunting and soothing and psychedelic all in one, if that makes any sense. The song is said to be about his marriage breakup. And Mike Mills from REM is on the piano, so that's kind of cool. The 3:30 mark, it goes from the slow haunting into like the heavy distorted guitar, which Pumpkins, I don't know if they're known for, but a lot of their songs have that sound, right? And I believe that's Billy himself, or is that Billy and...
It's actually a sound that's developed with Billy and producer Butch Vig.
Yeah, you say Butch that does it, right?
It became a source of like combustion between the two, because when they came up with that guitar sound, Butch took that same sound to other recordings, and Billy was like, "We did it together. How dare you share that technique?"
Right.
I mean, that's what producers and engineers do, dude. I mean, no offense, that's what happens.
That's exactly what happens, right? But it's that whole, like I said, the slow melodic stuff into that distorted guitar, and then with his "I'm All By Myself." I just really enjoy that song, and I really enjoy that album. And there's more songs to come off it, but that's my number 4.
And going back to the guitar sound, I remember doing some of the research, and he said some of the songs he was using a really cheap guitar that would either whine or whistle after he stopped playing, and that was how some of the sound they used was from the distortion from it being a cheap ass guitar.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. Okay, so if that's all there is to say on
No,
that,
I think I'm not you were speaking about the double album thing. It's kind of goes back to a couple of episodes ago. We're talking about a couple other artists too. That the one thing record companies are very good about. And I hate to say this because they're companies and they're just profit driven, but one thing are some artists, a lot of artists are very bad at is editing. And sometimes they have just too much material. Like, I want to do this. And when a band has the hit, like they do with Siamese Dream, and they come back and go, I have so much material. I have a a double album I want to do. And of course, record companies are like, sure, we can sell for double the price and blah, blah, blah. And sometimes though, the record company goes, you've got 17 songs. It'd be a much better album if we keep it at 14 or 13. You know what I'm saying? And it's because
hold some over for your next release.
Because some artists aren't very good at editing themselves, and that's why you have an editor and an engineer and a producer to help those. And you also have a record company going, we're not going to make a double album because it's not going to be as focused as a single album would be.
Also, when a band puts out a double album, generally that counts as 2 albums off of the contract. And a lot of the times record labels do not want to do that. They want to make lump sum money for one album and keep milking it. So if they do have a shit album next, they can, get rid of them.
Yep.
Right. And that's not to say that double was shit. That double.
No, it was great. I love that album.
Yeah, it's a great album.
Yeah, absolutely. But you're right. Siamese Dream for me is the best album.
It's a great album.
Yeah. I would agree too. Yeah, if we had to talk about the best albums, Gish, I put number 2 actually. I think as a full album.
Gish is good, right? Gish is a little I don't have anything
off
Gish, so I can just kind of loosely.
I think
it's a little underrated, right? Like,
it's completely underrated. I think so. Yeah, I said, we'll hear my list when I go, but you'll hear some songs from Mellon Collie, but. Gish was either you were introduced at Gish or definitely Siamese Dream, because that was obviously the big hit, especially with Cherry Brock and that intro and that time in '93 that was just like everyone's come full force and they came out with that hard rocking and hard hitting guitar and his completely antithesis of a voice, which is very soft and very airy and not aggressive. On that album, it's not. He changes it when he gets in throughout different albums to the 13 albums they have, but.
As needed, he changes it. Yeah,
but they toured Gish internationally before Siamese Dream came out. Like
they were right, but I didn't even know who they were. Like until Siamese Dream came out. Like that's just me. But
I think the first time I heard them,
for a lot of bands of that era, I would discover them the second or third album in and go back and
Yeah, I think the first time I heard them was the single soundtrack. So,
right. Yeah, and I don't think that registered for me as much as I love that soundtrack. And I'll get to when, maybe that was high in the 90s because it happened with Alice in Chains, but it was Siamese Dream for me. And I'll get to it on one of these songs here. But anyway, you mentioned Cherry Brock. So, and I do this. I don't know why I do this with my notes with bands, but I put much like I have a quote here with my name, I put a quote, like a funny, so I have Let Me Out in quotes at the start of my third. So it is Cherry Brock. And you mentioned the intro. I love the intro to that song.
Yeah, that's great.
And that was the first release song off that album, right? I loved it. And I didn't love it. And I'll get to this in my next one, because my next one, not to give it away, is Today. But it was Today that caught me. But when I went back and said, oh yeah, I really like that other song, I just got enamored by this song, right? The intro, the cool guitar throughout the song, his voice going back and forth between the higher octave and almost the whisper style, as you said, the airy, he did a lot with his voice back then, which he doesn't do on the newer stuff.
Later stuff, yeah,
and maybe it's because he's older, maybe he can't, maybe you know what I mean. Like, doesn't want to, right? Who knows? I guess this was in my research. I found out that this was Billy's choice to release it as the first single because the label wanted Today. And they said today's gonna be a much bigger song than this, and he fought and won, and they released this.
That's good.
And the label was right though. Today was much bigger than Cherry Brock, right?
Today is probably the better song, but I think Cherry Brock was definitely like the great intro to the band though. It's like, here's what we do, because you get the heavy part and you get the soft part, even though the song is heavy-ish, right? But you get his voice over that heavy music.
Yeah, you get all kinds of styles of his voice in that song, right?
And that's why I agree. Today was a better single, but prior Chairrock was still probably the better lead single, because here's the intro of a new band. Well, not a new band, but a lot of people I hadn't heard before.
Right, like you said, if you missed, like I did, you missed Gish and you didn't glam onto it with singles, then this was it. And for me, like I said, into my number 2, today was the song that really caught me. It was much like I Stay Away, where I was like, whoa, like I did it, like, oh, what is that? And it was a friend of mine, a girl, like a girlfriend, that said, hey, do you like the Pumpkins? And that girl was Melanie, Chris. And I was at her place in Muskoka, and she said, hey, you like the Pumpkins? And I knew Chairrock. I said, yeah, they're all right. Like, because I knew that one song, right? And then she put on Today. I'm like, what's this? And I was like, holy shit, put that on again. That was good. And I think we went out to the bar or whatever. So that's the only thing I heard. And then I went, and this was around the Christmas holidays in my second year of college. I went back to my hometown in Belleville and bought the album. Because I knew I wasn't getting it for Christmas, because my parents were probably done buying me anything like that. You know what I mean? Here's some clothes, or here's some food for college, whatever, right? Right. Thanks for the craft dinner. But anyway, and then as soon as I started listening to it, I just listened to Today over and over again, right? It's one of those songs where you remember exactly where you were when you really fell for it. But yeah, that's kind of it. In my notes here, I have the song itself. Corgan has been quoted as saying he wrote the song about a day he was actually considering suicide. So I did not know that. So that was new information, right? Because like we've talked about in other episodes where we do have some notes and do some research on this stuff, so we don't just say, I like this song, you're next. I like this song, next. I never really think about, unless I'm like having a brainwave while I'm listening to stuff, going and reading about the songs. And if I haven't done it in the past, I don't do it now. I don't know why. So this is the cool thing about this show too. It's really brought some new information from you guys and from myself researching. Yeah, I never knew that I missed all along. Like that shit information's been out there for years, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Anyway.
Or diehard fans already know that. Like, of course, you freaking moron.
Right? How did you not know that? You don't really like that song, then, do you? Like, yeah, I do.
I don't know Billy Corgan's middle name.
It's like William Henry.
It is something like that.
There's Jimmy. He's the guy. Jimmy knows everything. Between Dink and Jimmy.
No.
The one thing I'm impressed with this show, and Dink, you and I came from years ago, and we had different podcasts. But the one thing that astounds me at Dink, there's two things. The guy has a photographic memory when it comes to hockey players, like the most obscure players.
Yeah, that stuff needs to stick.
Dude, you'll rattle off the songs and the album title, right? Boom, 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 boom. Like my 53-year-old mind is like, I don't know. It's that one album with the chick on the front.
It's a crutch, man. It's like, because
very impressive.
People, if you don't remember stuff, people come to you. Hey, do you remember this? And if you have a moment where you don't, and like, oh, well, you're my guy. Like, and then my wife doesn't like it within our marriage because I'm like, you said this. She goes, of course. You're like an elephant. You fucking remember everything. I'm like,
but it's the cross we must bear.
It is. It is.
By the way, it is William Patrick Corgan.
I was close with Henry.
You were.
Not at all. That's not close. That's not close.
No. Google does me in every time. Joe is just giving me a compliment, and I was wrong.
I will say this is my last part of my notes, and it's I think about this stuff more now because of you too, Jimmy. The drums in Today are underrated.
Yeah.
Because and maybe you're gonna get
fucking Chamberlain.
Yeah, like they're really, really good. And again, another thing that I probably took for granted all those years of listening to it, and it's definitely. And I don't have this in my notes, but it's probably on the overrated or overplayed list for some people because it was killed for a while, right?
Yeah.
Right. But now when I listen to it, like I said, those memories flood back that whole time. And it was a tough time. And this whole album is in that exact time when I was go back and watch our opening track episode, I was listening to Core. If I wasn't listening to dance music before we went to the bar with the boys, I was listening to Core. So for something else to slide in there, and it's because that whole hockey memory, right? I'm like, this made its way through, right? So
Yeah.
When we were talking about his podcast, did you see when he was talking to oh my god, I'm gapping on his name, guitarist from Rage, Tom Morello.
Tom Morello.
And he said Tom Morello, Billy Corgan, and now I'm capping on the guy from Tool. One of the guys from Tool, they grew up 20 minutes from each other.
did they know each other or no? They just happened to be.
No, Tom Morello and the guy from Tool knew each other, but they were going to parties and they were seeing bands at the same thing, and they all went and made 3 different, like completely different bands, but all kind of riff based, and that's what they were talking about in it, right? Like they all lived in that circle and how they never really knew each other, the 3 of them.
That's kind of cool, right? Yeah. And you see that in sports and other things, right? Where it's like, wow, how those people are all from the same area.
Well,
like, what's going on in the water? Like,
I think it's also skewed now because, now with the internet and everything else, the world is so small. But back then, dude, you guys are from Canada, okay? I remember being back in the 80s and watching like an NBC like news segment about Minnesota, and people actually in the United States thought we lived in igloos.
Right.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
And this is in the 80s. I'm like, what the fuck?
Well, people thought that about us too.
People probably still do.
Certainly, they
We still do.
Yeah, I know.
Is the power on in that igloo? Like,
How do you
Wait, you have power?
You remember talking to Americans, Rick Mercer? There was a CBC show where he would go down and be like down somewhere in Georgia or Alabama or something, like, hey, you want to say congratulations to Canada for getting FM radio? And to be like, congratulations, Canada, good for you.
good for you.
Look at the camera and be like,
Good job, Canucks. Yeah. That's funny. All right, so my number one's an easy one. My number one is Disarm. I and I say this too much, just yeah, I'm trying not to say nice, but I say this a lot, and I've noticed it in our other episodes, but I fucking love this song. So I like Today and Cherub Rock, but when I got to Disarm, I'm surprised I ever got to Soma, because
Disarm?
Disarm.
Oh.
It is definitely in the father figure. This will be in the next 30 if I continue that list that I always talk about. I love this song. I'm still obsessed with this song. This song makes many playlists. I think Billy's voice is incredible. I love everything going on in this song with the bells and the violins and the heavy drum or whatever the hell, the kick drum or whatever the hell that is. It's it's
a timpani.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think this song is a true, and he would love this because he's obsessed with himself, a true piece of art, this song.
Yeah.
And you can't say that about a lot of other music that I really love. It's art to them, and it's art. But I think just the way this song was put together is truly a piece of art, right? And I think people take it for granted. If you break it down, like Jimmy, you've talked about this, or Joe, you have too, like the way you guys listen to music and break it down. If you break this song down, there's all kinds of shit going on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Also stuff that wasn't like anyone else was doing.
Nothing like, because then I think that's what got me, right? Cherub Rock's a rock song.
Alternative rock, then no one was doing that.
Nothing, right? Today's got alternative rock, and Cherub Rock is a rock song, and I was like, what the hell is this? This is so cool, right?
Well, they were kind of breaking the I guess the grunge mold with that, because orchestration, orchestral bells, timpanis, that big huge multi-piece orchestra, such a full sound that wasn't happening in grunge.
Just the gentle strumming of a guitar like the whole time, right? I'm like, that's just so, to me it's just cool, right?
Right, that whole muted string, that chung 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 chung.
I said, I'm obsessed with it. I still, to this day, I know my wife loves it too, because she has it on a bunch of her lists, and she's like, "You're copying my list." I'm like, "No, this song's on every one of mine. What are you talking about?"
On my country list.
Yeah, you're copying her list.
Right. Anyway,
maybe country.
Yeah, but no, that's my number one. Like I said, so there's I don't know if you got anything more to say about Disarm, but there's 4 that are all
Great
from
song.
Siamese Dream. So
I'll give you a preview. Disarm's not on my list, but it was one of the ones I was considering. Is always on like around 4 around there, and never made a list. But the reason why I kept on coming up is because, like I said, it was against everything that everyone else was doing at the time. The fact that this is their second album, and again, this might be the fact too. Back then, album production value was bigger in some ways, also way more expensive. And the fact that Gish was a minor hit, and now like, okay, we're gonna get some orchestras in here, we're gonna do some timpanis, we're gonna do some bells here, is so beyond anything else that they did in the first album that I'm impressed with. As young as he was at the time, these are the things he was coming up with at that time, writing along with Cherub Rock.
Right, right. Along
They're
with a
Rock and
relatively
Disarm are
basic
two
rock
completely
song,
different
right?
worlds,
Yeah,
You forget how young he is, and then you see a video from Siamese Dream, and you see how fucking young he like.
I know.
Doing this research, when I look back, I'm like, oh my god, he looks like he's 15 in that fucking
Right.
video.
yeah.
Yeah.
When he had hair?
He's only a few years older than us, right?
What's that?
He's only a few years older than us, right?
I think so.
I believe he's I was just on a podcast and he said he was 58.
Okay,
Oh,
so yeah,
I didn't think he was that old. Okay, all right.
yeah, he's older than I thought. So yeah, I thought he was 56, 55, whatever. Yeah,
I'm
that's
still ish, right? Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
So that's really all I have to say about that.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Good list.
Nice.
My honorable mention is away from that. I'm going to give a very subtle nod. It's not my honorable mention, but I would not be me if I didn't get an extra one in there. So a really subtle nod to 2023, their newest album, Autumn, that is spelled Atom or Adam. I really love Beguiled. I was like, wow, this is cool. They haven't had a good shit, in just my opinion, in a while, and I love that intro. His voice has changed, obviously, and that's probably age, or he's choosing to not sing the way he used to, or he can't. But I really like that song, but it is not my true honorable. My true honorable mention is Zero, that you mentioned in your cool intro. I don't know. I don't like it. Is just the experts say it's maybe their biggest rock song or one of their most famous songs. I don't know if it is. When you hear people that I know talk about their music, it's a while before they get to Zero.
Yeah,
which sounds weird. But you know what I mean? Like they name all the other ones I just said and other ones that you guys are going to bring up probably from Mellon Collie, the hits, right? And then they're like, oh, and Zero. I'm like, oh, and Zero's awesome, right? I love the break, obviously, with Emptiness is Loneliness. And like that is just, to me, that's just so cool. I love breaks. That's probably why I like, and it was cool to see your wife does too, why I like Nickelback. I know they're kind of basic. I know it's stadium rock. I know it's
I don't mind them.
But I love every one of their really good songs has a break, right?
Yep.
And this one has a break with vocals. There's usually just a break and then right back into something pounding, right? But I like a break.
I like a good break. I like Nickelback.
I will say this, and this was, I didn't even think about this until my wife said afterwards, because she's a huge Nickelback fan, and not to change the subject, Smashing Pumpkins episode, but no one brought them up for our favorite Canadian. Now, granted, it was 80s, but there was no reference to them at all.
No mention to them at all.
And I will say
if you
this,
ever do Canadian 2000 on, they're all over.
Yeah, and I'm not the hugest Nickelback fan, but I will say this: they are all phenomenal musicians. All of them are.
Yeah.
Well, our 80s show was, our Canadian show was 80s. So had it been in 90s, I guarantee you that they would have popped up or at least been talked about or mentioned.
Yeah, they would have been.
I was surprised they broke
late 90s, right? Like,
yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of it, right? Like I have a bunch of other just random shit that I wrote about Zero, but I think at the end here, I just like this song Cranked. Yeah, which is true. It's a song.
A lot of their stuff. That's why I like it.
Yeah, I love hearing loud. And there's other bands where I can listen to them at medium volume or lower, and that's fine. But some bands, I'm like, that song, you got to turn it up, or that song is not quite as good.
Right.
Yeah. Yep.
But anyway, that's my list, boys. I don't want to take up any more time because I know you guys got lots to say. But yeah, it's cool that we're doing this because they are kind of in a different decade. They're kind of like Cinderella, where some people don't like them, some people love them, right?
Mhm.
Again, just like Cinderella, you love him for the voice and also hate him for the voice.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Chris said, yeah. And I didn't touch on this. I think his voice is a little bit polished in the studio because I've never seen them live, but any live recordings I've heard of them aren't quite as good. So I don't know.
Funny you should say that. I have seen them live, and I would agree with that 100%.
Right. I know people that don't like them because they saw them live. He's a
well,
fucking wiener, and
so-
I don't like him live.
Yeah, so I was gonna say some of my people when I like a band, I've said this before.
Yeah.
Your buddy made mention that I see them live and I fell in love with them more. The Pumpkins, not so much. I still
Right.
like them, but they didn't blow me away.
Right.
Although they were really good instrument, like
Musically,
playing
yeah, like,
musically. You're
was
right.
him.
His voice didn't seem as good. And again, it could have been an off night, but if you're saying other people said it, I know
Right.
people have off nights, right? Especially now when I got older. Like when I was younger, like, that fucking sucked. But now you're like, everybody has an off night. Like,
right.
but whatever.
And no offense to anybody, but probably offense to somebody. When you have the ego the size of Billy Corgan, if it's that big, dude, you better be fucking good live. I'm just saying.
Right.
So even
Right.
every night, because I can name 10 musicians on, just off the top of my head that was very good every time they played live.
No.
Right. Yeah.
But anyway, that's it. And I am passing off to
Chris.
Chris. I knew that.
Oh, really? All right.
You see him, Jimmy, no.
So unlike Cinderella, I do love Billy's voice. I do love the Pumpkins, and most of it is from Siamese Dream. Gish a little bit, but
Good, I'm not
my number 4 is actually from Machines of the God from 2000 album, Stand Inside Your Love, which is the second single off that album.
wow.
And it's written as a love song that rocks, apparently, is what Billy was quoted as saying about it. But apparently, originally, it was supposed to be set in a new wave style, almost like 1979. But they went a different way and did a classic, like, Pumpkin sound, which I think made the song. I don't know if you guys even know the song.
I do actually, because I listened to a bunch of songs this past week. Just
Yeah, that's the only reason it's fresh is because
right. I don't know that I like any other song off that album to put it in a list, to tell you the truth. But that one just grabbed me. It seems like classic Pumpkins to me, really. The sound, the guitar, the riff, the way that it goes, the tempo, his voice. Also, one thing I found out when I was doing this research that I found kind of weird. The video won the most visionary video at the VH1 2000 Fashion Awards.
Wow.
Forever, whatever that's worth.
Wow.
Whoever knew that. Yeah. And I don't honestly, I didn't in doing this research, I didn't watch the video. I don't remember the video. I'm not big on videos, to be honest with you, anymore. Like I was back in the day. So
to let you know, those who don't know, VH1 was like the GoBots of MTV.
wow, I feel old that you have to explain that.
The dollar store Transformers.
The dollar store Transformers.
Yeah.
The G.I. Janes to G.I. Joe.
So you wait a second. So nobody watched those fashion awards?
I honestly might have, but
Clearly,
I do not remember doing it.
I did not.
I didn't know that they had video or music awards at a fashion.
No, me neither. I did watch VH1 stuff, but it's usually the storytellers or behind the music. Right?
Behind the music, classic albums.
Right.
Pop-up video.
Oh, fuck yeah. I almost forgot about pop-up video.
Pop-up video was
Pop-up video is great. You're
Anyway.
right. I forgot about that. Yeah, that's great stuff.
I just think that song especially just is a classic sounding Pumpkin sound, and it just grabbed me. I really like it. I really like that song.
Good.
I listened
That's
to
a
it a
good pull because it could be only one from that album. We'll see.
I would be surprised if there was another one, but not shocked.
Right. I will say this before you go on, and I think Joe or Jimmy said how many albums. I was surprised how many albums I had, so I totally left them. I missed a bunch of them that I just because I stopped listening to them. I was so happy that like I said in mine, at the one from 2023, because I'm like but even then I didn't go, oh yeah, well, I missed 5 or 6.
Well, and I forget about this one.
Doing this.
I forget about this one, and then I'll hear this song, and then I'll be like, oh fuck, I love that song, right?
right.
And I was probably like you guys, where I kind of fell off after.
Me too.
In 1998 or so, and it's like, I'm like, oh my, holy shit, they have 13 albums. That's
13. That's
amazing,
yes,
right?
Yeah. 13.
And
I could name 4 or 5. Maybe.
Well, yeah, and even then, it's really a personal thing. Art's a personal thing, right? We've talked about this before. It's very subjective. I didn't know they had 13. Obviously, diehard fans know they have 13,
right,
and think I'm an old piece of shit, fucking old guy for not knowing they have 13 albums. But I'm literally like, they fell off my radar. They really did. I'm not the biggest Billy Corgan fan, not his voice, but just him, which is weird because I am pretty good about leaving the personality out of the art, because most people, if you think you talk to them, are going to be pricks or assholes.
Ted Nugent.
Oh.
Put him on the list. The list of hated.
But it shocked me they had 13 albums, because I knew they had more albums afterwards after I stopped listening, but it was amazing how many albums they had afterwards. Yep. And so I revisited them last couple of weeks after we discerned this was going to be a show. And I was actually disappointed how little I really ingested that I really, really liked. It was memorable for me.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, those first 2 albums are really, really good. The first 3 albums are really, really good. I still think Mellon Collie could be slimmed down a little bit. But those first 3 albums are really, really good. Again, it's all subjective. And then after that, there's a lot of stuff, to me, was a lot of forgettable stuff. And I'm just one guy. But
it's such of that time, right? They dominated the airwaves, the video waves. They were, you can't mention the 90s without mentioning them.
That's true. Yep.
You know what I mean? And he knows that.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and he's kind of like, I watched this podcast a bunch, and he's very like, now and even then, like, kind of angst towards us, towards the people that were of that era, that we were fools for thinking that certain people were poets and doing these things, and they were really just making music, trying to make money. I'm like, well, you can think that, but because we all have this love affair, or many of us do, with that whole time frame, grunge and the change in music and stuff. But little does he think that, it's also, for me anyway, I should just speak for myself, it's that time in my life. Like, it was meeting new people and going to college and into your 20s, and life is changing from being a pube growing metalhead. You know what I mean? Like,
did you watch that podcast when he was talking to Tom Morello?
Pube growing?
Yeah, that's when I watched. Yeah, that was when I watched.
So he talks about how he wishes he wouldn't have been so. No, it's about the art and everything. He talks about how he wished he would have just embraced, like, playing the hits and playing the cherub rocks and playing that more, instead of trying to be artistic more all the time. And no, it's about this and it's about that. He talks about how he wishes
while mocking other people, like now he doesn't. Now he praises Cobain and all this, but he mocked them all back then.
No, that's what he's saying, though. He's accepting that he used to do that, and he wishes he wouldn't have done that. That's what he talked about in that one, anyway.
Yeah, now I've watched a couple of his like 4 or 5 now, and the newest one I think has Richie Sambora, and he's just all over, like, oh, I saw you and run away, and you were so awesome, and you blew me away, and fuck off.
Yeah,
I disagree with that, but all right. So my number 3 on that is
I agree.
Well, no, real quick, Chris, before you move on, I wanted to say that, because we were talking about meanings of songs and the art being the art. We've talked about in previous episodes about how really musicians sometimes take themselves too seriously. And I had mentioned before, like, you watch, the Disney Beatles doc, and you're thinking about these grandiose Beatles songs that should mean so many things, right? And they should really deep, and really you see them just trying to rhyme lyrics, right?
Right.
great line. And yes, I know it's completely fictitious. The line is fictitious, but in the Dylan biopic, The Complete Unknown, his soon-to-be girlfriend asks him, she goes, "What do you want to be?" And he just says, a musician that eats. I mean, that's really comes down to for most of these guys. They just want, musicians. I don't care if you're Kurt Cobain or who you are, or Bob Dylan, you want to be famous, even though you try to say you don't want to be famous for the art. There's a reason why you do it. But a lot of times the music isn't as deep as you would hope it is, because a lot of times it's just something that rhymes.
Well, yeah, and that's why music's always left to the interpretation of the fan, right?
Yeah.
Like it's different for the person listening than it is for the person that made it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, Anyway, sorry, Chris, we got sidetracked. That's what we do.
Yeah. No kidding. Anyways, I would like to say the name of this album, but I always butcher it, so I'm not going to. But anyways, my number 3 is a cover, and is the Landslide cover.
Yeah, good song.
Yep, it's good.
It's a great cover.
That's for me. That's my Disarm. Like, I like Disarm, but I listen to that Landslide cover all the time, and it got me to listen to more Fleetwood Mac. Actually, I love Stevie Nicks and I love Fleetwood Mac, but that cover got me to go back and actually enjoy Fleetwood Mac even more.
Yeah,
and
it was skillfully done.
When it came out, it went to number 3 on the Billboard Modern Rock track.
Oh, I did not know that.
Me neither, until I did this research, which I find funny that a cover from that year went on the Modern Rock track. But yes,
it was huge in it was huge in the U.S.
Was it?
After hearing, it was really big.
In movies, TV shows, everything.
And after hearing it, it made me want to hear Corgan actually sing with Stevie Nicks, because I think they have very complimentary voices.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that.
Yeah. You'll see it like on a lot of lists. I know friends lists, but some other famous people, like they're one of their favorite covers of all time. Remakes of all time, right? And I'm always like, and I think it's because of my love for Fleetwood Mac. I'm like, really? But it is really, really good. Like,
but I was late to Fleetwood Mac. Didn't appreciate Fleetwood Mac. Probably didn't appreciate Fleetwood Mac till I met you, because you're the one that probably got you talk about them more than anybody else.
Top
I knew.
5 band for me. So
right. So I was kind of behind with Fleetwood Mac. I didn't really actually even know this song was theirs until I heard the Pumpkins do it.
Right. And then the Dixie Chicks did it, or the Chicks, but I still call them Dixie Chicks.
And actually, that was a good version too. Don't get me wrong. It was
all right. It wasn't bad, because it's an okay song, right? Like,
exactly.
Actually, I think if I had to pick the 3, I might pick the Pumpkins over Fleetwood Mac. Like that is a really good choice. Really
I love his voice in that song, like the way you do with the Disarm, really.
Mm-hmm.
When I was younger, I was a cover snob. I hated the fact people would cover. Like, why don't you do your own music? But being the ignorant
Great White
SOB I was back when I was younger, you don't realize, like with you, Chris, that cover will bring people to the original.
Yeah,
it happens so often. It should.
It's done right. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's what it's really an ode. He must
it's an ode,
either he just loves that song or he likes Fleetwood Mac himself, right?
Either way, it's a love poem to the original. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had that with a lot of covers. I've discovered a lot of older bands or other music because of covers.
Right.
Led Zeppelin wouldn't have a career.
Right.
Yeah. You wouldn't have a list for 71.
It would be David Bowie.
That episode will never, ever be forgotten. When Burkle picked 4 Led Zeppelin tracks. Go see the 1971. Spoiler alert.
You guys listen to Zeppelin? Well, Joe does.
Chris, were you done with the notes on that? Because I do have something to add on to what you both said. I don't
have a lot of notes on that. Yeah.
Okay. I believe it was Joe and Dink that were talking about why he chose that. He chose it because his whole life he was enamored with Stevie Nicks and her voice, and that song spoke to him his whole life. And he said, at some point, I'm going to do this, and that's why he did it.
Oh, that's really cool then.
Nice. That is really cool.
Yeah.
The song fits his voice very well. Like I said,
absolutely.
It really does.
Whether it was live or in the studio. Yeah.
Good choice.
Nice choice.
Are we good?
Yeah, what's next?
All right. So my number 2 is Rocket.
Rocket Scrot. Oh, so good.
Good song.
It's one of those ones when you're talking about I have to have it cranked. I have to have it cranked. I don't know that it could be loud enough
Yeah.
sometimes. Really. My number 2 and my number 1 are both like that. When I was doing the notes, I don't have a lot of notes, but I saw it described as, and I found this funny and appropriate. Standard, what was it said? Standard fuzzed out pumpkins blissness.
Wow.
That's the way it was described by a critic. And I'm like, that's pretty good. I like that. I like the way that
That is pretty cool, actually.
Right.
Pretty well, yeah.
Right.
That pulsating guitar and big sound. I just love the fucking sound. I just love and to go. Somebody said earlier about, I think it was you, the drumming I think is underrated on the entire album.
Yes,
especially on those on these songs. I think Jimmy Chamberlain's drumming is not talked about enough sometimes.
Yeah, Jimmy's going to be all over Jimmy.
Everybody talks about Billy's voice or the guitar, or even Darcy's bass sometimes, right? But,
yeah, you never hear about Jimmy.
No,
which is like this show.
Yeah, but I think it's underrated for the entire for Siamese Dream for sure. But yeah, and that's I don't have a lot of notes. That's all I have on that one. I just love that song. My 2 and my 1 are just because I love how hard they sound. So, if anybody's got notes on Rocket,
no, I'm good.
Well, if you've seen our outtakes, Joe likes it hard, so I want it hard.
All right, and my number 1 is Mayonnaise.
Oh yeah, baby.
Which it's probably like the intro is part of it. It just fucking again loud. I don't know that it can be loud enough. Hurt my ears and my headphones. Probably shouldn't do that. It was in 2002 voted. Rolling Stone readers voted it as their favorite song of the band, which I would agree with. Obviously, it's my number 1.
Again, I think it reflects also people's drum to the band.
I don't even care about the lyrics. It just fucking rocks. As far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
And that's my notes on that one.
Hey, it rocks is a great note.
Yeah, that's a solid note. Crank it up and it rocks.
Yeah. And then my honorable mention was Disarm. So Dink said everything he said about Disarm. I have no extra notes on that.
And are we clear yet, Jimmy? Is it Disarm or that arm?
It's
that arm. It's that arm.
It's not that arm. It's Disarm.
Okay. We should have had somebody from New York on this show.
Disarm. It's Disarm.
Is Disarm or the dead arm? Yeah, great song, man. Great picks, Chris. Really great picks. I think we're going to find a little bit of crossover, but I think you're going to find a little bit of each one of our personalities in all of our picks this episode.
Absolutely. Right?
What I would say probably my next 5 picks after that were all off Siamese Dream.
Siamese Dream is very cohesive.
A solid album.
Yeah, solid album. There's not a bad track on that album.
There isn't.
They're all memorable.
I don't think so. I can listen to the whole album all the way through. I do.
Yeah,
and do
start to finish. Yeah,
that's actually because I was gonna bring this up actually in pre-show that the one thing I've been challenging myself to do lately is because we live in a singles world or we live in a shuffle world, right? You just put on
playlist world.
Yeah, whatever it is. I've been challenging myself the last week now to actually listen to albums all the way through. Whether they're old albums and I love them, of course I'm going to listen to them all the way through, or newer albums because, well, I love these 2 songs. I'm going to listen to those 2 songs and move on. I've been challenging myself now to listen to a full album, old or new, revisited or new, just to see if I can find those hidden gems that I missed so much from listening to an album.
Yeah. So I do the same thing, and you know what? It sounds so lame, but I hope we're making at least one person do that.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope so because it's
so awesome. You're like, holy shit! I missed this song. I missed this album. Like
we found out before show, it won't happen for Fred Curry, but
Fred probably won't. But
Fred, we love you. We love you, Fred.
Well, I hope.
Go ahead, Jimmy.
I hope Jimmy Chamberlain watches this and tells me that I suck. That'll be fine.
I was going to say I'm a material girl living in a material world, Joe. So,
well, one thing I'll say but it's not my turn. Oh, actually, it's going into my turn, isn't it? What?
Go ahead, because I have something to add on to you.
The one thing that Billy Corgan is really good about doing, I think it comes from people who are very confident in themselves, and we all know he's very confident in himself, is surrounding themselves with very good musicians. And I think the one thing we can all agree with, everyone who's been in the band has been a very, very good musician.
But sadly, he's the face, right?
Yeah. Which
Well,
tends
he
to be
wrote
when
90% of the
My wife
music.
would know who Jimmy Chamberlain is.
No.
and do it. 95% of all lead singers will tell you they're the face of the band.
Well, one of the
That is the case, I guess.
I think it was Rocket. One of the things, the notes that I read, I didn't write it down, but I saw it. James Eha said he came in. No, it was Mayonnaise. He came in with it as an instrumental, and Billy liked it and wrote the lyrics from James's instrumental.
That's awesome.
Right. Yeah, so they were heavy contributors, right? It wasn't just him, but
No, they were not.
Diehards.
No,
they were not heavy contributors. If you
not?
look at, if you go to any of the albums and look, it'll say all music written by Billy Corgan, except where noted.
well, let's be honest. This was the pre-2000s era, so we all know. Let's bring up Police and Sting.
I was just going to say, you're going to bring up Sting, aren't you?
That was the rules back then. If you had the basis of the song, you were the writer, but somebody influenced you, whether it was the band member or the studio musician who wrote a brand new track, they had no writing credit. So I take it for what it's worth.
Okay, so
or unless you're
just that track that he brought it to the table, because my point was that my wife or other randoms that aren't maybe big or as big of music buffs as we are, Billy's the face. Pumpkins. Oh yeah, I don't hate that guy. It's not.
But that happens with the lead singer a lot, right?
I think most times it's that way. I mean,
lead singer-itis.
I would just say, just ask the average person who's not a musician or a super fan who the drummer is, and they could probably
then they probably know the band.
Even if
What the fuck?
They can name maybe two drummers and Tommy Lee being one of them. And they'll say that one guy from Def Leppard with one arm, but they don't know his name.
Well, it's not
Neil Peart plus.
It's not Tommy Lee they're thinking about. It's down below.
It's the third leg.
Yeah,
the
baby.
fifth member.
Yeah.
Hey, baby.
You like that, baby? Yeah, they seem to.
I guess it's my turn, isn't it? Okay. Well, if you're watching the video version, you'll see that I'm sporting the Minnesota Wild Prince jersey.
Nice.
And the Prince hat. So, of course, it's Prince. I got to bring Prince into this race somehow.
First Prince reference took longer than you thought. Jimmy lost the bet.
No, hang on. Only two of four of us have gone. It is now halfway through. $20, please.
Give me $20 from Dink. That's great.
Oh, shit.
Dink, ma'am. Pay the man. Unfortunately, like every band who gets big, they have some kind of loss. And when they're on tour, their touring keyboardist for many years was Jonathan Melvoin. Jonathan Melvoin is the brother of Wendy Melvoin, who is the guitarist in the Revolution, and both of them are the childs of
Kevin Bacon.
No, not Kevin Bacon, but I forget. Sorry, I'm so bad. But their dad, blah blah blah, Melvoin, was part of the Wrecking Crew in Los Angeles for Capitol Records and many other. And so he was on thousands of albums. He was in the very famous Wrecking Crew that was studio musicians that played in literally hundreds of albums. But Jonathan Melvoin died of a heroin overdose with the band. And the one thing he did on the Prince side is he actually wrote the song "Around the World in the Day." Prince took the song from him and gave him credit. But that's my little Prince tie-in to Smashing Pumpkins. So if you had a bet that I could make Prince part of Smashing Pumpkins, you're wrong.
Bravo.
Awesome.
Okay, so mine will be pretty quick here. We got some crossover here. My number four for Smashing Pumpkins is Cherub Rock. Again, this wasn't the first time I heard Smashing Pumpkins, but it was the first time this is a band to be reckoned with. There's their first single off of Siamese Dream. And again, we talked about the intro before. This intro is it was like nothing off of Gish, and certainly nothing off of one-offs like they had for singles. But Cherub Rock was kind of introduction for the rest of us, if you will, that weren't fans of the first album. And again, the intro. Again, we've talked about before. Today was a better single, but Cherub Rock was a better introduction. And it's one of the few songs I think that Cherub Rock and Man in the Box, probably the two best lead singles off of for an introduction of a band in the 90s. Literally like spot on. I don't have too much more to add about Cherub Rock that we talked about before, but that's my number 4.
Solid.
My number 3, as we quickly move on, is again from Siamese Dream. Again, you're gonna see a little. Again, super fans, I apologize. Yes, we recognized before they had 13 albums. Mine come off of 3 different albums. This one again is off Siamese Dream, but it's Hummer. And the one thing that
almost the whole album here,
almost as
right.
well. But again, that's accomplishment to the album because the album has
That
a
is.
cohesive sound. And it's one thing I always said before when I was in my bands, my dream producer was always Butch Vig, because Butch Vig has produced some of my favorite albums, and he does a great job of locking in that sound for that album.
Yeah,
you know, he did Nirvana's second album. He also did a couple of Foo Fighter albums. Obviously, he does Garbage. He's also a drummer for Garbage. But this album, he was locked in step for every note of this album. Every song, again, we talked about it a couple of shows ago. You could take the song and this album and just put it on shuffle, and it sounds like every song is naturally just happening because everything sounds cohesive. It's an incredibly produced album without sounding overproduced, and that's a credit to Butch Vig. But again, what we talked about pre-show, I have a tendency, even though being a hard rock guy and my background's guitar and hard rock guitar, a lot of my favorite stuff is very poppy. And a lot of my favorite Smashing Pumpkins songs are very the poppy kind of mellow songs. And Hummer is along that lines. And again, it's complete quiet.
No, I was getting ready to talk. That's a really strong song. It was on, further down on my list, but really, really strong song. And it didn't get any radio airplay, which it probably should have gotten at least college radio. But yeah.
Again, I think you could have done that with any song on Siamese Dream. I mean, yeah, there are certainly singles that are singles, but I think any one of them could have been college radio or just, B-side radio. You know?
I must admit, like sometimes I have, probably a lot of times, I have like brain cramps. I think when I'm doing this stuff and I'm jotting down some things. I shouldn't say jotting. Who am I kidding? I'm putting things in the notes on my phone. And I'm like, Butch Vig. I should mention Butch Vig. And then for some reason I forget about you guys, and I was no one wants to hear about Butch Vig. Those guys.
Staying true to you.
They probably don't even know who he is. And then I'm thinking, and then I remember, of course they know who he is. Mm-hmm. So I had Butch Vig originally in my notes and fucking deleted it. I'm like, I'm not bringing that up, right? So I'm so glad you did, because and then I was like, when you started mentioning Garbage, I'm like, I just went and looked. I'm like, so much stuff, man. He's done some great albums.
Yes, man. Complete albums. Garbage is amazing.
So
Don't get started Garbage.
Got some Goo Goo Dolls in there, Jimmy, too.
You're in Jimmy's notes, man.
Jimmy's notes.
Sorry, man. Sorry. I just thought I would bring it up that you, because you mentioned them. I was glad you mentioned them. And I thought I better say something too, because it's not like I didn't think about it, but like I said, brain cramp. I'm like, who cares about that?
I think Butch Vig as a producer, some producers, like, again, I'm not to lock on them, but certain producers you can hear, like if you can hear a Bob Rock production, it sounds like Bob Rock. Yeah. You can hear a Mutt Lang production.
A Mutt Lang, right?
The one thing that's very good about Butch Vig, he brings out the best of that band. A Foo Fighters album doesn't sound anything like a Smashing Pumpkins album. Sounds nothing like a Garbage album. Sounds nothing like the Warhol's Theory album he should have produced.
Right. You would never say that Garbage and Pumpkins were done by the same guy, right? Like,
the guy's great at bringing the best out of musicians. I mean, you want a great watch. There's a UK series called Classic Albums that is made on YouTube and on VH1, the channel.
VH1, yeah.
Re-announced before, but it was very geeky. It wasn't like, here's the songs in this album. It's like, here's how we made the songs. And so they're going through and showing you hidden tracks and stuff they omitted from each track, and they're going track by track. And they talk to Butch Vig about making Nevermind with Nirvana, and just the idea of like the whole process for each song was completely different. And sometimes the songs weren't on complete time, but it was better because the songs felt better if they were a little bit off. And that's, again, the producer who's allowing that. And I say allowing that because that's the producer. His name's going on that. He's allowing what's going on in that production. And he allowed the band to be themselves. And I think he did the same thing with this album with Siamese Dream. So, I mean, it's amazing stuff.
Joe, before you get too far ahead, I'd be remiss if when you mentioned Johnny Melvoin, if I didn't, you're going to get a Prince connection in there. I'm going to get a Canadian connection in there. So Sarah McLachlan's Angel is wrote based on her reading reports of his overdose.
Oh.
So if you know the
really?
song Angel, In the Arms of an Angel, you know what
really?
I mean?
Yeah, I didn't know
That is really an ode to Johnny Melvoin. So
It's the ASAP or whatever. Give me money for the dog shelter song.
is that the song? Is it I Will Remember You, or is it that song?
Oh, is that what it is? Really?
Yeah, it's that song.
Give me arms
Oh my
of-
God. The song that gives everyone the teary eyes whenever they see the sad dog is about Jonathan Melvoin. Ugh.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Or it's like based on her reading report, because I don't know if she knew him, maybe, because you never know who knows who in the music world, right? But it was her reading reports of his overdose, and she wrote the song, right? So
Yeah, I mean, Wendy and Lisa, who are obviously, Priya mentioned they're part of Revolution, had their own duet career. They had done the same thing. They had Wendy had written a song called Jonathan about him. So
well, that makes way more sense than Sarah McLachlan. But yeah, I thought
sad.
I better get that in before some Canadian says, "You two dorks didn't say anything about Sarah McLachlan when he brought up."
I didn't know.
Yeah, great stuff.
More notes.
Another page of notes. June's gonna have nothing to say when it's his turn. Okay,
He's just gonna show pictures of dogs.
pictures of
Shelter.
dogs.
Get your local shelter.
Hey, I'll let them sponsor us. Who gives a fuck?
Seriously, people, adopt your dogs. Don't buy them. Adopt them.
Right.
Talking to someone who's adopted 7 dogs in his lifetime.
Right.
So adopt a dog.
I'm glad you said adopted, because you didn't rescue them from. They weren't caught.
No, they rescued me. I adopted them. They
Right.
rescued me.
They weren't stuck under the fence or.
Well,
You
some
didn't
were. I
rescue
mean,
them.
like of our 7 dogs, 5 of them came from Kentucky. So they
Chris
were
rescued his though.
They were
you might have
rescued.
rescued yours.
What?
You might have rescued your dog.
Oh yeah, our dog came from a food market in Shanghai.
Yeah, that's a rescue.
Yeah, that's a rescue. That's a motherfucking rescue right there, man.
That could have been dinner.
Wow.
Fuck.
Does it have all its legs?
I'll just freeze mine.
Yes,
What do you-
yes.
Yeah.
In fact,
What-
she's
what do you
sleeping
imply that
right
Chris is
there.
really
There she is,
hungry or
right
what?
there.
Oh, nice.
In the arms of an angel.
See, you get if you
Oh,
listen to the
Johnny.
podcast version, you can hear this music, but if you don't watch the YouTube version, you don't get to see Chris's beautiful dog.
Right. You don't get to see our mugs and his dog.
Well, our mugs, I don't know about
And
that. but
Jimmy
Some
throwing
people
his notes
prefer
over
the
his
dogs to us. Yeah.
Let's face it, all of us outkicked our coverage when it comes to our wives. So
Oh, Jesus, absolutely.
let's see here. My number 2, before we go completely off tangent, is I forget because of my list changed a few times, but actually number 1 and 2, number 2. I knew my number 1 and number 2 were since
They were locked
in. My number 2 was Drowned from the single soundtrack.
Nice.
Again, it's kind of an intro. That's the first time I heard them. I didn't know the band. I kind of listened, and whenever I listened, I bought the soundtrack. I love that one song. It was very different from the rest of the soundtrack. Again, not only with his voice, but with his composition of the song. Again, a mellow tune. But just love this song. Love the vocal melody. For me, the hook for me, and I think that's why I always end up picking pop songs. For me, if it's even guitar instrumental, it's always the melody. I need to have a strong melody to go by, and Drown has that strong vocal melody that gets stuck in your head once you hear it. It's an earworm. I love the song. I think it's a great introduction to the band. I still remember picking up that soundtrack, and that being the biggest surprise. I'm like, who is this band? This is amazing. This is an amazing song, and that's what kind of introduced me to Gish. So yeah,
it's interesting. Like, I obviously love the soundtrack. We all love that soundtrack, but
yeah,
it's interesting to go back, because I know my own head, but to go back in the head of Joe Burkle back then, what you really thought though.
You don't want to go in there.
No one wants to go there.
But if you thought, well, this is a cool song, but these guys aren't going to make it, or I wonder if we'll ever hear from these guys again. Like, how long after that was Gish out?
Right. Golf clap. Good try, guys.
It was right after. It was right about that time. Yeah, it was about that time.
Yeah.
No, but
because you
let's
see
try
that
to
on
my wife-
soundtracks, you're like, who are these guys? And then you're like, never hear from those guys again. They're a one-off, right?
I mean, Dink, I appreciate it, but I've been with my wife. My wife, I should say, has been with me for 30 years, and she doesn't want to get in my brain. Okay, so
Right. No, I didn't mean I really wanted to get in there, but
It's scary in there.
there's a lot of like trance and symbols and shit.
I had a glimpse when I was a kid, and I got scared. I wet myself. It was horrible.
You've never been the same since.
No, I still have twitches from it.
Right. You have Tourette's?
PTSD.
No, it's just for
You don't have good memories being friends with me for 25 years. You just have PTSD.
Oh, yeah.
But I just remember is literally getting that soundtrack and being drawn to that song and just playing that song incessantly along with the rest of the soundtrack. But that was one of probably the number one song I played over and over again because I didn't know the band. And it was so good and so different from the rest of the soundtrack. I really love this song. I'll be honest with my number one. I'm surprised we haven't heard this song yet. And it's probably the most generic. Sorry, I'm going to say it. Give the intro right now and the graphic. Basic Bitch. Smashing Pumpkins song. 1979.
wow.
This song I love.
That is a basic bitch.
It is very much a basic bitch, but I love the feel of the song. I love the just the laid backness of the song. Just him telling the story visually of what's going on in 1979 and him as a kid. And just kind of free flowing again, much like Hummer, much like Drown, that these songs just kind of flow out and they're very free flowing. And I've used this term before, but airy. Again, I'm not a very good description of what I hear in my head, but just very big. And it's hard to have a big song that's kind of laid back. And this song is both of those things. Yeah. And when I hear this song, I can't turn it off. If I hear it halfway through, I'll leave it on.
Yeah,
and I'm pretty much a guy who has to hear things from beginning to end. And 1979 is one of those songs I need to hear whenever it's playing.
Yep. Yeah, I agree.
I let it play now. I appreciate it more now. By the time 97 rolled around, I think I started to dislike the band because of that song.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that happened.
I was like, if I hear this fucking song one more time, I'm going to lose my shit.
Well, and it got played. The video got fucking played on TV.
My God, yeah. And I'm sure it did for you guys, but it did for us.
Oh, yeah. Here it did too.
Non-stop. Like,
well, yeah, I like it now. Agreed. But
we've talked about before songs that you've continued to love since it was released, songs you are sick of, never want to hear again, and songs you hated and then came back in love with later on. We've got to disconnect from them. And some people are all three things with this song. I get that. Yeah. And sometimes, believe it or not, when I pick my lists, especially with bands I don't listen to a ton of, I mean, again, I'm talking about a band who has 13 albums. I listen to 2.5 albums of. I like it. Again, I really love Gish and Siamese Dream. Mellon Collie and Infinite Sadness, I think, could be a better, very amazing album if it was condensed down to the greatest songs. But that's my opinion. Not saying that's right. But when you can have a song like this that is as big as it is and can drive people crazy because like, oh, this song again, every band wants that song, even though they say young Billy Corgan was, I'm sure, sick of playing this song and probably stopped playing it for a period of time. But every band wants that song, and this was their song. And I think, again, it goes back to when we're talking about Disarmed. It has sounds in it that no other alternative, quote unquote, alternative rock songs didn't really have. Nothing sounded like it on the radio at the time. And to this day, nothing still does. I love the song. It's my favorite song by them. It will always be my favorite song by them. And it's, I think, a rarity as Chris drops his mic. Whoops.
So much for pissing in that can.
I just like Real quick.
In a bin.
Oh no, here comes Merman. Oh no.
Don't touch it. Don't touch it.
Ew, you touched it. My honorable mention, real quick. Again, I thought this episode was going to be 25 minutes and be done with. We're already going long, but my honorable mention, again, the same vein of Hummer and Drawn in 1979, is actually is Rhinoceros.
Oh, great song.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a great song. It's a great hook, and for the chorus, again, not one of their heavier songs.
No.
And for me, it's all vocal melody and vocal hook, and the Rhinoceros really has it. And I don't think it's a song when you think of Smashing Pumpkins, it gets enough due because it's a very, very good song. That is one of the few songs I also Gish I think would actually fit perfectly with Siamese Dream.
Totally.
So,
yeah.
That's my list.
That was good
Nice.
list.
A strong list.
They've all been good. All right, bring on the Chamberlain. Let's go.
Let's go.
Right. So every third word is going to be Jimmy Chamberlain. Jimmy Chamberlain, Jimmy Chamberlain, Jimmy Chamberlain.
Jimmy, who's
Have
Jimmy
you heard of Jimmy Chamberlain? All right,
your alter ego?
Pretty straightforward. I'm going to put my little caveats, some things that I didn't interrupt you guys on real quick. I was messing with the Butch Vig notes. I do have some, but you didn't touch on them. You talked about, certain songs made you want to buy the albums more. Other songs made me want to buy the album more. It started with number 4. Again, we're going to Siamese Dream. It is not a Samesies. It's Geek USA.
Yeah,
We must have named the whole album by now.
Yeah,
right. Really good.
So we're going to talk about Butch Vig right now. Butch Vig is a drummer, so therefore he's going to focus on the drums. I have all the albums he's ever done pulled up here. I'm not going to go into that, but you listen to anything that he's associated with, those drums are pristine. And Jimmy Chamberlain is fucking amazing. This song really highlights his feeling and his groove, and it feels like the band is kind of building around that groove that he brings in right away from boom, right away. That's Jimmy Chamberlain. The only bad thing about Butch Vig on this song is that snare drum sound sucks ass. That piccolo snare thing that they started in the 90s. Okay.
That was a big thing in the 90s, man. It was piccolo snare.
Okay. So a snare drum is usually, pretty deep.
Yeah.
6 to 8 inches was the standard. And then they made this piece of shit. Super thin, and it ping, ping. And that's one thing that made me kind of go cringe every time I heard it. But the rest of the song brought up around it. But it is, again, it's the sound of the day. What's really, I'm going to be a hypocrite now for 2 reasons. One is I wasn't familiar with Gish, but Siamese Dream made me go back and listen to it. I did not like it because of its low production value. Everything was, they were trying to be punk with a lot of compression and a lot of gating and a lot of overdriven guitars, and that's made me not want to listen to that album. But
sometimes though, on that note, if you don't have the money, sometimes you overproduce with little money you have, and I think
that's where I was going to go. Yeah, I love Siamese Dream because it's overdriven and gated and low production values. So I'm a hypocrite on that.
Still sounds better though.
Yeah. And because they had more money behind it. That's really what it comes down to. I've talked about this ad nauseum on almost every show. As bands progress, they get more money put behind, so they get to use more effects and more time and all that stuff. But that Geek USA, it was not the first song I heard. In fact, it was one of the latter songs I heard from the album. But when I heard it, it was just like, oh, I want to hear more of this. So that's my number 4.
The deep album cover, deep
solid,
album cut.
solid.
But yeah, it's again a great song. Again, I can't pick one bad song in this album.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
It's funny you say tinny about the snare. I always thought that anytime it's too tinny, that the guy, and it's probably just me being stupid, that the guy's not hitting it properly. It almost sounds like he's rattling off the side of it. You know what I mean? Like
that's the sound. That's the sound.
Well, you're partially right. There are drummers who can produce an overdriven snare sound by hitting the rim and that batter head
Right.
Yeah.
at the same time. You can produce that and get more of a metallic sound. So you can get that, but this is directly a piccolo snare, and it's a very distinct sound.
Right in the center, it's going to sound exactly.
I'm glad you guys know what I'm talking about. I'm not just like,
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. A lot of the times, what you're talking about, there's the difference between a metal rimmed snare and a wooden rimmed snare. A metal one's going to have a lot more tin and a lot of more reflective sound, so it can have that sound you're talking about. Where I prefer wooden rimmed snares myself.
Right. You guys missed my rim job joke.
Rim job.
Oh, we didn't.
Okay.
I'm just kidding.
My wife would be like, "Stop being inappropriate. Talk about jokes."
So, any notes on that one?
No, I think that was good stuff.
Okay, so number 3 is a same Z 0.
Nice.
From Mellon Collie and the Infinite Sadness, the very famous vampire video, and Billy Corgan still to this day refers to himself as a vampire, usually in jest. Jimmy Chamberlain.
Vampire.
Yep, Jimmy Chamberlain. He actually downplays a lot on this. It's more of a straight, laid-back beat, but what he plays is very, very powerful and percussive to the sound. Doing a little bit of research on this sound, one of the things I found was really cool. There's actually 8 guitars playing at any given time in this song. There's 6 rhythm guitars and 2 12-string acoustics to get that sound. And as Chris mentioned earlier, he had a piece of shit guitar that had a bad jack in it and a faulty connection in the humbucker, the pickup, the thing that feels the vibrations. So he worked that sound to his advantage, and I believe it really worked in his favor.
Yeah, I agree.
Nice. That's cool. I guess I didn't research it. No, 8
One of those things they call in the studio called a happy mistake.
I didn't know that.
Holy crap. Can you hear? You can't hear them all.
Well, I mean, I guess if you're a trained engineer, you might be able to, but a lot of them are just doubled up and doing maybe a different tone on the guitar to kind of give it a bigger, fuller sound. A lot of the times when you hear a singer or a guitar player on an album, there's actually 4 or 5 guitars being played at that time, layered and stacked to give it a really, really full sound. Yeah. And sometimes a singer's voice, you hear them singing without the other layers. You're like, oh, that's different. It's because they don't have that full sound of the other voices.
Right.
No. Nice pick.
All right. I'm shocked and appalled that this song has not been said for my number 2, Bullet with Butterfly Wings.
Well, I avoided it like the plague.
It's all right. It's a good song.
It's in my top 10, but I just couldn't.
I've always liked it. I like the angsty, angry feeling of it. And for the time, I think it was 1993. Am I right on that? Siamese. Yeah. Oh no, that's Mellon Collie. So that's 95.
95. Yeah.
Did you say you avoided it like the plague?
Yeah, I was kidding.
I just caught that now.
Yeah, I was kidding. Obviously, it was right close, and I take it over 1979. I'm sorry, Joe. I take it as overplayed over 1979 every day of the week.
It's a good song.
I take it kind of what you're saying, not overplay, but I take it as disingenuous. For me, when I listen to songs, it sounds like somebody writing who's trying to sound like the Smashing Pumpkins.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
All
right. I think he's trying too hard, really.
If it comes on, you're still like, all right, on.
That was kind of a sign of the time, irony and deeper thoughts. And I'm not going to talk about sex and cars. Right. I'm going to talk about, fuck the man or whatever. Yeah. And that's kind of what the song came out. But I still love this song. I never got sick of it. I'm surprised because I have the memory of a goldfish. Like, oh, I don't like that song anymore. But this one's carried through.
Right.
So I guess
for me, I think it got killed for me, really, and I just didn't.
I probably
It's not a
reference
bad
it more
song.
than any other Pumpkin song because anytime somebody says,
Oh
"The
yeah, the
world
first
is-
line.
the
Yeah.
world is," I'm like, the world's a vampire, man.
Yeah.
Right.
It is. To me, like I said, it just sounds, and this is just me, and don't kill me. It's just my opinion. It sounds disingenuous. It just sounds like somebody trying to be the Pumpkins. He sounds like he's trying too hard. Like, ooh, look at me. It's me being ironic. And it's like,
Well, that's what I meant by the irony and deeper thought.
But it was
Yeah,
huge, right? It was massive.
What were you going to say, Chris?
it was everywhere.
Huh? Oh, I was done. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought I stepped on your toes. I'm sorry.
No. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you either. But
No, we're all good. We do it all the time. All right.
We do.
I mean, it's what we do. We all jump in when we get excited. My turn.
I got a boner.
So, okay. Right. Exactly. So my number one, I have a note based on what you talked about, Dink, but it's Cherub Rock, Siamese Dream. For me, this is the song that made me buy the album, and it wasn't today, right? Today, yeah.
You do, yeah, you do.
Today was whimsical and ironic, but there was that that beat plays in my head to this day at least once a day. I'll be driving along and I'll start playing that beat and that rhythm and then that triplet. I love this song. It's fucking great. It's powerful when it needs to be. It comes down. His voice is a bit much, almost at most given times, except for the Tonight, 1979 Disarm. But I liked that.
Yeah.
I like when a singer is too much. I mean, David Lee Roth is one of my favorite singers. He's fucking too much. You know, and I really, I kind of like that. Geddy Lee, I like that. His voice is too much. There's Dave Mustaine. We've talked about all these different voices.
Right.
I am drawn to those, much like Joe was talking about the incorrect voices and the less beautiful voices. So I'm drawn to that. So when I heard his voice being too much, I was like, yep, I'm gonna like this band.
Yeah, that's so
nice.
Cool.
It's a great
It's
song.
funny that you said that like I might have touched on it with the intro. I love that intro as well. And I almost bumped that song up, but I couldn't because my first two were so locked in. I couldn't. But I went, man, I love it too. And I crank it when I hear it. I never, if it comes on, I'm like, oh, turn that up. I think I've said to my wife on multiple occasions, if we happen to be listening to a station or anything with that kind of music, I'm like, turn that up. And she probably couldn't name the title.
Right.
And I did forget to say it, but Jimmy Chamberlain.
Yeah. Is Jimmy Chamberlain your honorable mention?
Yes.
JC.
It's all 5 of my picks. Yes. This song, the guitar line in it reminds me of early Hendrix. There's kind of a sloppiness. That fuzz boy, I think Dink, you were talking about that. Oh no, Chris talked about the fuzz. There's a heavy fuzz. There's a heavy overdrive to this. Heavy gain and lots of static, and I really, really like that. And I immediately thought of Jimi Hendrix when I did hear that. So that's my top 4. So I do have an honorable mention. 1979 is my honorable mention, and Overplayed.
Yeah. Yes.
I loved with a D this song. When it comes on, I hear it, I listen to it, and I don't turn it off. But there was a time, and it gave me that kind of little bounce, little kick in my step that I liked. But now it's just like,
underwater sound. It almost sounds like it's underwater. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, all in all of these songs have been great. There wasn't a song on this list that I was just like, oh, really? You know, which, we kind of all tend to do. This is This was a strong show. I think stronger than I thought it was going to be. I was really happy to dig into the 3 albums that I listened to. I didn't go any further than that.
This really showed us where our age, I think, too, a little bit.
Absolutely, time capsule.
Yeah.
Great picks. Great picks, everybody.
So, I mean, I guess with that, I mean, do you guys have any closing thoughts or anything you want to talk about? With
I think I'm good.
I'm good.
I'm good.
All right. Well, much like the beginning of the show, I'm going to end it the same way. By starlight, farewell and good night. Thank you for watching Just Ranked. This is always a pleasure. Thank you three for doing this with me and having fun. This is awesome. Please visit justrankpod.com. It's our landing page. You can see all of our socials with one little click. You can visit them all. If you like watching us, you get to see one experience. If you like listening to us, you get to hear the music, and it's a completely different experience. Please check them all out. See which one you like more, or just watch them both, listen to them both. For B, Jimmy, that's Joe, that's Dink, and that's Chris. Thank you so much, guys. Please like, subscribe, hit the bell. Go fuck yourself.
Go fuck yourself. Forget about that.